You get people ready?
Here we are.
Good evening. I'd like to call the Newman City Council Development Agency regular meeting, July 14th, 2009, to order. Would you please stand for pledge allegiance, call to order and pledge allegiance and invocation to fall. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your head. Dear God, thank you for bringing us here tonight. We ask that you watch over the city of Newman. We ask that you guide us and give us the strength to make the right decisions for this city. In this we pray, amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Kelly.
Present.
Davis.
Present.
Candia.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina.
Present.
Mayor Casey.
Okay, declaration, conflicts of interest. There being none. Ceremonial matters. Recognition of Sergeant Randy Richardson's graduation from the Sherman Block Supervisory Leadership Institute.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Sergeant Richardson for completing a prestigious program offered by the state of California in the Peace Officer Standards and Training. I believe he's only the second member of our department to ever graduate from the program. It's been around since 1988, and it's a program administered throughout California for sergeants, a leadership program. It's a 9-month program with 3 days a month. For 9 months. Rigorous curriculum, and we're very proud that Sergeant Richardson successfully completed that program with honors, and we're happy to have him back and to see him start applying some of the things that he learned at the program. As you know, Sergeant Richardson is one of our stars of the department, and his star is definitely rising quickly, and he makes the place go. So we're glad he did well. And congratulations. Feel free to require a speech.
No speeches.
Nice. Thank you.
Congratulations, Randy. Congratulations. Items of the public, non-agenda items. Anyone that has any item that they'd like to speak, come before the council, now is the time. There'll be a 3-minute. Unless with council.
What happened 3 minutes last
Okay.
time? This won't take but about 30 seconds. So.
Okay.
Dave Reed, Newman Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to remind everyone of our annual John T. Silvera Awards Dinner coming up a week from Saturday. It's on the 25th. It'll be at the L.J. Newman Hall. This year's winner, the John T. Silvera, is Mr. Walker, Mike Walker from Hearthstone Builders, and the agriculturists of the year are Dave and Patsy Freitas of Freitas Eggs, and we'd like anyone that can come out to having it's a Hawaiian theme. We're having a excellent catered dinner, and so we welcome everyone out there. It starts at 6 o'clock for cocktails, 7 o'clock for dinner. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, Dave.
Any other from the public would like to speak?
Anyone have 3 minutes?
David, we can give you longer.
I'll be trying. I've come from Oakland. Hi, my name is David Lopez, and I was raised in Newman. And I'm here. I just came from Oakland now because my mother's lived in her house for 39 years now. And I know you can't choose your neighbors, but over the years we've had these neighbors across the street, and as time has passed, it's gotten worse and worse. As long as they've kept it there, but it's been a source of drug trafficking of all sorts, and we've ignored it. But for me, what broke the straw broke the camel's back is when this man's house, Mr. Reagy here, has lived next to these people all his life. Most of his life, and these people, of course, they deny it. This man had all his furniture stolen while he was away. And for me, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. And he's a convicted felon. This person lives across the street. He's now on probation, and he still sells flagrantly. He sells marijuana. I don't understand the laws why he's not, and and then city ordinances are always broken. So I'm puzzled why the police department does not do something. He breaks all kinds of ordinances. He's supposed to be working. I don't see him working. And I have concerns about my mother's safety because he's basically a loose cannon. He never was disciplined, this person. Only went to school. I don't know if he even finished 8th grade. And he was convicted of grand theft, but he also had petty theft, embezzlement, and failed to appear. This is his complaint and judgment. So that's one issue. And I'm concerned about just the neighborhood, the quality of life in the neighborhood. My mother had checks delivered at her front door by the post office, blank checks, which shouldn't have happened, but that's what the post office did. There were 4 boxes of checks delivered. 1 was taken, and another box was rifled through, and so that caused, and I was in New York at the time, and I couldn't do anything about it, so that caused another whole issue. We don't know who took those checks. July 4th, we didn't have to go to Gustine to see the fireworks because on S Street and on Leslie, their fireworks were 100 feet in the sky. I don't know where the police were, and that lasted a half hour continuously. Fireworks. My sister made a phone call to 911. As soon as she made the phone call, the fireworks stopped. I know you have there's a very sophisticated technological subculture here in crime. And as soon as she made the phone call, the fireworks stopped. There was a truck surveying, going off the neighborhood, checking things out. They kept passing through. So these are issues in our neighborhood that I'm very concerned about. And I'm concerned about my mother. She's 94 years old. I don't live here. I come here as much as I can. But when Mr. Regi's house was stolen, and not only that, but malice, they went under his truck and they actually poked a hole in his gas tank. I mean, out of sheer malice. Why would you do that? So I asked Mr. Regi to come with me if you want him to speak. But this, I don't know why these people can't be convicted of something. His ladder was in the yard. Of course, everybody says there's no evidence. You got to identify everything. But this is just a source of concern, and I think it's a valid source. And I'm amazed at the police how they don't do anything, like the fireworks. I mean, they were just all over the place. And there were rockets top of my roof. I had to stay up till 12 a.m. to watch the rockets, so nothing would catch fire. So that's basically it, I guess. I'm amazed this person's on parole, and I just don't understand why he can sell marijuana flagrantly, and then now he has something going on in the back. He's moved all his operation in the back. He has gas cans lined along the side, full of gas along the side of the house, which he fills people's tanks with. I'm sure that's stolen gas. But, there's some, who's watching the shop here? So these are my concerns, and I think a lot of them are valid. So thank you for hearing me out. I don't know if you want to hear Mr. Regi, but I just thought I asked him to come along. His house was completely stolen when he was away. And the neighbors said they didn't know anything about it. How could you not know? They're only a few feet apart. How could you not know that something was being taken out of the house of that magnitude? So, thank you.
Mr. Lopes, I'd like to recommend that you talk to our police chief and give him an opportunity to review some of the problems that you've had.
We've already done that. We've done that a number of times.
Well, I recommend that you do it again, please. And we certainly thank you for coming forward, because I know it's difficult for you when you live out of town and you're concerned about your mother. And
I'm very concerned.
We understand that.
I'm very concerned. Yeah. Even last night they threw firecrackers. They were all dressed in black. They threw firecrackers on her side of the street, and big bombs. She was telling me this. This just happened last night, and they were all dressed in black, and they turned off all the lights, so she couldn't see who they were. And I haven't had the chance, but I'm going to install some more light and higher fences just so she feels safer. But I wish something could be done about it. I don't understand why obvious breaking of city ordinances, and how this person is on parole and he can do these things. I'm puzzled. I'm just puzzled. So thank you.
But I would recommend that you talk to our police chief.
Okay.
Please.
All right.
And thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak at this time on non-agenda items? If not, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Item A, waive all readings of ordinance and resolutions except by title. B, approval of warrants. C, approval of minutes of June 23rd, 2009, regular meeting. And D, approval of city furlough program.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent calendar.
I second it.
Motion been made and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 9, public hearing. A, adopt resolution number 2009, next number, a resolution declaring the existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4.
Good evening again, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Before you are a number of residences where the police department has exhausted all efforts to try to resolve the abatement voluntarily with the property owners. In each of these cases, has similar issues, as you can see in the photos of tall grass, weeds throughout the property, a tree in danger of falling that appears to lived out its purpose, and we'd ask for you to authorize the abatement of these locations, all of which are unoccupied. The 900 block of Balsam, 700 block of Hagerman Peak, 1500 block of Lockbray, 500 block of Flour Mill, and 1600 block of Peachtree.
Council have any questions? This is a public hearing. I'll open it to the public at this time. Being no comments, I'll bring it back to the council for direction.
Make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2009-XX, declaring the existence of a public nuisance under ordinance number 95-4.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Number 9B, second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2009, amending Title 9, Police Regulation, adding Chapter 9.14, Disorderly Social Events or Gatherings, to Newman City Code, and authorize staff to prepare and publish the summary of said ordinance.
Good evening again. This is, as you indicated, the second reading. We went over this at the last council meeting. For those that were not with us quickly, this is a cost recovery ordinance. It's not a new ordinance or to fine people or violations of social gatherings, these types of things. What this is the first response to some type of party or social event, maybe where it's allowed music or maybe an occupancy issue, something like that, where it requires a police response. We'll advise the responsible party who's putting on the event that a second response will result in potentially a fine for an actual noise violation. In addition to that, we will attempt to recover our costs for having to come back out for this event for their failure to control their social event. We'll provide them with written notice of that, explaining the ordinance and how that works, and obtain their name, et cetera, and they'll sign. It's basically a warning. It's been in place nearly 20 years in Ceres, very effective. We modeled the ordinance after the city of Ceres. So this is the second reading of that. We'd ask that you adopt this ordinance and we move forward on this cost recovery program.
Any questions for the police chief at this time from the council? This is a public hearing, so I will now open it to the public for any comments. There being none, I'll bring it back to the council for direction.
I'll make a motion that we approve?
Adopt.
Adopt, excuse me,
yeah.
okay. Adopt second reading and adoption of ordinance 2009, amending Title 9, Police Regulations, adding Chapter 9.14, Disorderly Social Events or Gatherings, to the Newman City Code, and authorize staff to prepare and publish a summary of said ordinance.
I second that.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. C, a second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2009, next number, amending Title 9 Police Regulations, adding Chapter 9.15, Driving Under the Influence, Emergency Cost Recovery, to the Newman City Code, and authorize staff to prepare and publish the summary of said ordinance.
Thank you. This, again, is a second reading, very similar in nature to the previous ordinance that we just discussed. The only exception is the topic, and this is for DUI incidents. So this would not apply to we make a traffic stop and it happens that the driver is DUI. Under those circumstances, we could not attempt to recover our costs. That's just the nature of what we do. This is specific to an event, and most often it would be a traffic collision that required emergency response from us in the fire department, so injuries type of thing, where we could attempt to recover our costs for that event itself. This does not excuse any criminal penalty that the violator would have through arrest or through the courts, but we could attempt to recover our costs through this ordinance for our response. So very similar to the first, just a different type of event. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I'm just curious, what, can you write that off on your homeowners or what? Seriously, what people think about it? Where, Chief, I don't know where.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was a business dinner, it could be a business expense. I don't know.
Oh, that'd be, you better own the company.
Not our issue.
I know, but I'm just curious. I wonder where you could, Mr. Attorney?
Anyway,
Well, that would be a stretch, wouldn't it?
That would be quite a stretch.
Would you go with me to the IRS to protest that one?
No, but I know somebody who will.
Be happy to refer you.
Oh, thank you.
any other questions from the council? Being none, this is a public hearing. I'm going to open it now to the public for any comments they may have. Being none, I'll bring it back to the council for direction.
I make a motion that we adopt the second reading of the ordinance 2009 amending Title 9 regulations, adding Chapter 9.15, driving under the influence emergency cost recovery to the Newman City Code.
I second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. 10, regular business. A, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 2009, amending Title 5 zoning and adding Chapter 5.23.150 storage container to the Newman City Code.
Good evening, Mayor and council members, Mayor Pro Tem and council members, excuse me. Before you is an amendment to the zoning code. Currently, the code does not include language pertaining to storage containers. These containers, also known as pods or shipping or cargo containers, are often used as sheds and accessory buildings in residential zones. These containers create a visual nuisance as well as a potential health and safety issue if not properly maintained or located. In an effort to be proactive, staff has researched numerous storage container ordinances nationwide and has drafted the ordinance before you. This proposed ordinance would do the following: define exactly what a storage container is, prohibit the use of said containers in a residentially zoned area, and regulate the temporary utilization of these containers for remodeling purposes. For example, someone's doing an addition on their home and they want to protect their building materials. This temporary use would be for a maximum of 90 days, would be regulated through a permit issued by staff. And for example, if someone has it in March of 1 year and they take it off 90 days later, it could not be replaced for another 12 months. So I didn't want to say calendar year because that's kind of deceiving. It's more for a minimum of 12-month period after removal. The proposed ordinance also identifies an abatement procedure for illegal storage containers in residential zones. It outlines how we are required to notify the property owner, and if they don't respond through the appropriate timelines, that we would have the right to abate the said container. Overall, staff finds the proposed ordinance places reasonable guidelines for the regulation of these containers and thus would ensure the quality of Newman's neighborhoods. With this, staff recommends that the council introduce the title and waive further reading of the proposed ordinance amending Title 5 zoning of the municipal code. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
This is one of those, when I read the whole thing, I was reading through it, it's like that, the woman spilled that hot coffee here at McDonald's. There has to be a reason you had to do this, but just people living in them and.
In some communities, there had
Yeah.
been occasions where they tried to add electricity service and use them for things that they're not designed for. And in order to keep Newman the way it is and the town that we love, staff thought it would be appropriate to maybe just take care of this before it becomes an issue.
Excellent.
Okay. Bring it back to council for direction.
I'll make a motion that we adopt, or wait, this is only the first
First
reading.
reading.
We can adopt it?
Introduce.
Introduce, excuse me, introduce the title and waive further readings. I scratched over that. Of the attached ordinance amending Title 5 zoning of the Newman Municipal Code.
Second.
Excuse me, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steph.
Item B, adopt resolution number 2009, awarding the bid for the 2009 street maintenance project and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement for said project.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. The item for you tonight is to consider award the bid for the 2009 street repair project to Tom Mayo Construction. In 2008, Boyle Engineering, now conducting business at AECom, they've had a name change, have been acquired. On behalf of the city, applied for a Proposition 1B local streets funding and repair, and that was awarded in June 2008 by the state of California, and the city received $400,000 for this project. On June 24th of 2008, the city council approved a contract with Boyle Engineering for engineering services for this project. If we could put the map up. The projects identified several areas: Corget Estates, Canyon Creek Estates, Stonehenge, Lucas, identified by areas 1, 2, 3, and 4. Area 2 is, Area 4 is Canal School Road. That one is to be completely reconstructed. And then we also have a bid alternate for Area 5, which is P Street. Due to the low bids, what we did was we put an alternate in there for P Street due to the condition. If we could show some pictures of P Street, I'd appreciate that. It's kind of hard to see. The center of P Street was overlaid, but the edges were not, if you're familiar with P Street. And you can see where the road's unraveling. So in order to help with some P Street, we had an idea that we put a bid alternative in there. If the bids came in low enough, we could look at possibly doing 1 or 2 blocks of P Street. And the intent on that one is we'll do a fabric overlay and then bring in an AC of about 1.5 inches on top of it. About 1 inch, I believe, on top of that one. So we're asking that due to funding availability, if council so desires, we could possibly do 1 or 2 blocks of P Street. The total of 7 bids were submitted for this project. As I said earlier, Tom Mayo Construction was a low bid based on their base low bid of $263,847.60. The engineer for this project, AECom, has reviewed and certified the bids. Therefore, the staff's recommendation that council award the project based on the base bid. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Where does that other 90,000 go from the 400 then, Guard? Were we able to put that in a,
Some of the money has been expended on the engineering services
Okay.
To design the project and get it to where we're at. The rest, some more of the money will be spent on ensuring the project is completed as per the plan, so as construction management services.
we don't have to give it back?
But there's going to, no, we don't give the money back. We will
That's it.
spend every penny of that
That's what I
money
figured.
on our
Okay.
local roads and streets. That's the whole
Good enough
intent.
for me.
This money that's already been deposited with the city, so we're going to spend every penny.
They haven't found that out yet. Good, thank you.
No problem.
Gardner, thank you. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
And we know that this construction company does reputable work.
I've been informed by the engineer AECom. Mario was the consultant on this project for AECom, and he said that they have a very reputable company for this type of work, and he's had experience with them in the past. So he gave them a high standard.
Okay. You know my cheaper doesn't mean better, so.
Yes, it does not. Therefore, that's why I rely on the specs. Hopefully, our specifications and our contract documents are solid enough that we can rely on those to not have change orders.
Conversely, expensive doesn't mean better either.
That's true.
Yes.
But the old saying, you get what you pay for.
That's why
That's always a concern of mine.
That's why we'll be looking for the engineer AECom to oversee this project, along with one of our inspectors, to ensure that the project is done accordingly, so we minimize change orders on the projects.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bring it back to council for direction.
Make a motion, we adopt resolution number 2009 awarding the 2009 street repairs project to Tom Mayo Construction in the amount of $263,847.60.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. C, approve updated proposal for Master City Engineering Services from AECOM USA, Inc., and authorize the city manager to execute an agreement for services.
Good evening again. The item before you tonight is to accept a proposal for a Master City Engineering Services from AECOM USA Incorporated. A little bit of background. Stoddard was originally the city engineer back in 2005. There's been several name changes. They were previously known as Stoddard and Associates, then they became Boyle Engineering, and most recently they've been acquired by AECOM. As a result of that, in discussions with the city engineer, who is also present in the audience, Gary Rogers, we determined that we need a master agreement, as AECOM has requested, to ensure that their agreement is current and ours also. So therefore, the item in front of you tonight is to mainly a name change from Boyle, previously Stoddard, and now AECOM, to continue the service with AECOM Engineering for city and engineer services. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer those for you. Just a name change.
No questions for the council. Thank you, Gardner.
Thank you.
Bring it back to council for direction.
I'll make a motion that we approve updated proposal for Master City Engineering Services from AECOM USA and authorize the city manager to execute an agreement for said services.
I second it.
Motion is made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
I oppose. Motion carried. Number D, adopt resolution number 2009, next number, approving and adopting updated city improvement standards.
My last item tonight. Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. The item for you tonight is to consider approving and adopting the updated city improvement standards. Previously, I brought an item to you to approve a contract with Boyle, now known as AECOM Engineering, to update our city standards. Our city standards were last updated, I found, when I came here approximately 20 years ago, and they're considerably out of date. It is recommended normal engineering practices that you update your standards every 3 to 5 years. And sometimes you can do it yearly if there are minor changes. Looking at the standards that we had before, they were approximately 20 pages long, and mainly they were just drawings. This will bring us more current with the construction industry standards. In addition to that, it brings it more in line with the general plan and its recommendations. Therefore, what I have done is contracted with AECOM Engineering Services to provide this. Public Works has submitted these to staff for review. I've reviewed them. We sent them to the Building Industry Association for their comments. Didn't receive any, but I did receive some comments from a private engineering firm on the standards, which were very positive. So the item before you tonight is to approve. We recommend that you approve and adopt the city standards as submitted. I believe a copy is included in your packet.
Yes.
If you have any questions on the standards or this item, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
I have no questions. Any questions?
No.
No questions. Okay, bring it back to the council for direction.
I move that we adopt resolution 2009, next number, approving and adopting updated city improvement standards.
I second it.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
What?
Motion carried.
No.
Item E, adopt resolution number 2009, next number, approving the pickup employee contribution to California Public Employees Retirement System.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Tonight I have for you a resolution to approve the pickup of employee contributions to CalPERS. CalPERS requires a resolution to designate required employee contributions as being picked up, which is basically saying that they're pre-taxed. We should have actually had this on the books before. It only came to CalPERS' attention when we made the changes last week. So this doesn't have any fiscal impact to the city. It just changes what would come out of the employee's paycheck. And it's less of an impact because they're not paying taxes on it. So the federal taxes for them will be lower. Are there any questions?
So what kind of impact are we talking for the employees? I mean, is it 2% we were talking?
Well,
I mean,
we gave
what-
them a 2%
Right.
that they're doing, but it actually comes out to about 1.5 because they're not paying taxes on it.
Do they understand that?
We tried to explain it to the union rep as best as we could. whether they understand it. I think for the most part that they do, yes.
Okay.
And they'll get their checks tomorrow, and I've made it clear to them that if they have any questions regarding all the changes that we've made, that anybody can come to my office and talk to me about it.
Excellent, good, good.
Any question? No questions. Thank you, son. Bring it back to the council for direction.
Make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2009 approving the pickup of employee contributions to CalPERS.
I second it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Boy, you're moving, buddy.
Okay. We come to the best part. Supervisor Jim DeMartini, give us some encouragement or words of wisdom and all that.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Martina, council members. I really don't have very much for you tonight. There's only really two issues that would affect the west side. One of them, of course, is the ongoing saga, the Orastemba Creek Flood Control Project. The only good news there is I got some confirmation that Congressman Cardoza has secured $460,000 to help pay for the more studying, as we certainly have studied this thing to death, but I'm sure that we'll find the place for it. This project is just so far behind that I can't even tell you when we're going to have our meeting. County staff has still been working on it with the Army Corps of Engineers. The meeting that we were supposed to have for this area, explaining what the project is and what's going to be constructed, is 6 months behind, and I can't tell you to date when that meeting is going to occur. But my guess is as soon as we get through spending the $460,000, we will probably conclude the program, because there just isn't any more money. As soon as I find out something more definite, I will keep you informed. But right now, the project is the levee farther down on 33 with a extremely large a bypass channel, which is a pipe, is a drain, and that's what they're working on now, is what that will cost. And it's using the county right-of-way, so it doesn't go through somebody's field. So that should help in the cost, because the county already owns the property. The other thing is the West Side Healthcare Task Force, and I will be on your agenda for a more formal presentation next week. I'll have a PowerPoint program, and we will tell you all about what we're doing with our Biggest Loser contest and what the Healthcare Task Force is doing, why it formed, and a little bit of history about it. I know you as council members know a lot about it, and two of your members are on the task force. But for the general public, I'll give you an overview of where we came from and what we've accomplished this last 2 years. And we will be kicking off our first event right here in Newman on August 6th. And I have secured the scale from the ag department. I looked at it yesterday, and it will be very suitable.
How many will it hold, Jim?
Well, 10 would be really pushing it.
But can we get five? And
No, 5 is no problem at
Okay,
all.
that's good enough, yeah.
And so they're going to bring it out, so I think we'll just weigh, 5 and then 5. And it's everything is set for it, so I'll give you the whole overview of it with the PowerPoint next meeting on the 28th.
Thank you.
If there's any questions, that's all
Jim,
I have for right now.
This project with the Orastemba, it seems to me that we spend more money on just surveys and studies and than the project would actually cost itself. Is this pretty typical, or do you know if it's typical of Army Corps of Engineers when they take on a project like this?
That's from what I understand.
It's just-
The building something in California is just really difficult. The Corps of Engineers looks at this as a jobs program. We have studied everything to death. We've studied species, we've studied drainage, we've studied trees and frogs and all kinds of alternatives, including alternatives that just wouldn't work, but we had to study them anyway. We have been at work on this for years. The county has spent $3 million already. $3 million. And that doesn't count what we've got from the federal government, which is probably another million or more. Although I do think that we are close. Though and getting the extra $460,000 from Congressman Cardozo is that I don't know if it's good or bad. That means that the Corps of Engineers knows that there's another $460,000 there, so they'll probably study something else until the money's gone. It's very frustrating. I mean, we went and did extensive surveys on the sycamore trees up there and spent really a lot of money on a detention dam and what would be involved in then putting that up at Oristimba Creek. We've looked at bypass channels and levees and I think a half a dozen different alternatives. I do believe that what we do have now that we're in the final phases for is something that will work. And it uses the canal that's right along the CCID canal as a barrier. There's another one that will have to be constructed to the north of town along with a bypass channel. And in the studies of the patterns of the flood and how they come in, and it appears like it will work. And this, to me, is a far better alternative than building up Stir Road and making that a levee, which would essentially box in Newman forever. Nothing would ever be able to be built past Stir Road. At least this project keeps a lot of the farmland from flooding because of the bypass channel, which is a fancy word for drainage pipe. But I think it's a feasible project. And we are in the process of just getting what this thing's going to cost. I had went with Supervisor Grover to Washington early spring and to trying to get money for the project. And it is moving along, but it's moving along at a snail's pace. It just drives you nuts. If you come from the private sector like I do and are used to just getting things done and make a decision and go out and do it, and then you get involved with these government people from the Corps of Engineers and the Fish and Game and the Fish and Wildlife and environmental groups, there is just no incentive on their part to get anything done in a reasonable amount of time. But it is moving, we are moving forward, but very, very slowly. And hopefully we will have something in place before the town floods again.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim.
Items from the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a reminder for yourself and Councilmember Kelly, July 20th, 4:30, we are scheduled for 212 with the school district. For the community, on August 11th, we will resume our CDBG computer training program. Again, that'll be at the McConnell Adult Education Center, and we're working with Madison News right now, so when you see the weekly publishing, what's going on that week, we're trying to make sure that they're in there every week. The new street sweeping contractor started this week. Schedules were sent out to all utilities people, bills, so if you pay your bills, you probably saw that map that came out. Also, it is available on our website in case anybody lost that. And then speaking of our website, as the community may know, we now show our meetings via the internet. It'll be up tomorrow. Last week, or for our last meeting, which had lots of controversy to it, over 200 online viewers. Yes. Before that, I think we were in the 50s. The city of Patterson maybe gets 10. So our community is technologically savvy and is going to the internet and watching your meetings. So I think that's a good thing, trying to use all mediums to get the word out. We had some issues with the Howard B. Hill Park. As you've seen, we haven't made any progress, and that was all due to the contractor. Tom has since been involved with this particular issue. We had to switch contractors. Now we are with our second bid person, and that's Grover Landscaping. They're going to be doing the project, so we're getting all the contracts signed. We're going after the first contractor's bond to make up the difference between the two bids. So you should be seeing some movement here within the next 30 days on that or so. We are making some progress at Pioneer Park. Bob, just so you know, that structure will be up before Fall Festival.
I've been checking.
My staff understands that that's a priority, as was, I think it was last year, 2 years ago. Remember, I think our playground equipment went down to within a day or two. But, they got it filled in, and it was very, the community responded well to it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of kids playing on there. So, with that being said, I'd like to thank the Rotary Club. If you haven't been out there, there's a new barbecue pit out there now. The Rotary Club stepped forward and offered to pay for that. So we'll be doing a little plaque for them and getting that all done. Oh, Rotary gave us the check today to pay for all of that. So that's, and then the structure will be coming up pretty shortly on that. If you've noticed, we are doing sidewalk repairs along P Street. What we've done is our Public Works Department has been real diligent about going out and identifying problem areas that pose a risk or liability not only to the city but to our residents and the homeowners. So we've been able to go out and repair some of those areas where maybe the roots have lifted it and it's old sidewalk. So therefore we've gone back in, taken the old sections out and put new sections in so that we don't have any of our residents tripping and falling. And Councilmember Kelly knows all about that. We have had some success with NSP, Neighborhood Stabilization Program. We have 2 houses that are in escrow right now. That's the $1 million that we got through the Neighborhood Stabilization Program. So, if you haven't heard, F&A has sold to Saputo Incorporated. Saputo Incorporated is a publicly traded company on the Toronto Exchange, based out of Canada. The sale is scheduled to go through early next week, as soon as possibly Monday the 20th. I need to get them a document that shows them that we're allowing the transfer of their industrial discharge permit, basically their permit, their allowance to go to our sewer treatment plant. So, and then lastly, today I went to a meeting in Modesto. Supervisor was there, with the Economic Development Administration. This is the gentleman that submits projects to Seattle, and that's where they award money to do projects. Got a lot of good information. I believe we have 2 good projects, or 1 sound project, and I'm going to continue to push our aquatic center as well, and try to at least, we may not get the funding for the pool, but maybe we get this funding for the infrastructure to support that. And the other thing I'm going to be pursuing what's called a PTA, it's a Planning and Technical Assistance Grant, and we may not be immediately eligible for it because we are part of the CDBG consortium with the county. We get the $300,000 a year. Now there's what's called over-the-counter application. You just fill out the paperwork and they give you $35,000. If we're eligible for that, we're going to fill out the paperwork and we're going to try to, and then what the paperwork will do is get the money to do an economic development strategy and really get some people to hone in on a real strategy for us to take advantage of some of these projects. George Souza's project's at 55 acres immediately east of the business park. That's moving forward. That's the second project that we're going to, or the first project we're going to submit to the EDA, because we're going to look for infrastructure money to provide infrastructure out there. If we can get that done, we could potentially open up about 112 acres of industrial business park land, job generation land for our city. And so we're going to look to partner with Stanislaus County, Merced County, and potentially, hopefully get a letter of support from the city of Gustine to try to bring jobs to our area by opening up that 112 acres. So, with that, I know I went over a lot. If you have any questions of me, I can answer them.
The baseball, Mike, where are we at?
Well, following our last meeting, I sent a letter to Mr. Durkin, an email to him, and he has not yet responded to me. So I've offered to facilitate a meeting with himself and the board presidents, as we spoke about, and I have not heard a response from him. So
Could you follow up on that, please? Just
sure, I
yeah,
can send him
if-
a
when you get-
second request. I'll
Please.
CC you on this one.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Staff?
Evening again. I do want to say thank you for the Rotary to helping us with that barbecue. We do have all the block and fires and everything. All we're doing now is assembling the metal grate to set that in there. And the structure's on its way, from what we understand. So that will be here, we're told, and be completed long before the fall festival. We also will soon be going out to bid for a project to install some sidewalks on Fresno and T Street over by the FDS Hall. It's going to include some sidewalk installation, handicap ramps, and a storm drain system to handle the drainage that's already a flooding problem there. That project should be going out to bid. I believe we advertise this week, if I'm not mistaken, this week or next week on that project. And we hope to get some really good prices on that as well, given the economic climate that I'm trying to take as much advantage as I can on all my bidding projects. The last thing I have for you, the effluent storage basin expansion project is well underway. We are about the last progress meeting we had last week, we're 10% complete. The reason that it was so slow at this point is they've had encountered some moist soil down about 3 feet down, which was identified in our soils report. But now they've identified how to better their construction practices, and they're moving forward quickly. If you want to go out there and see a lot of dirt moving around, come on out. They have some excavators that weigh about 260,000 pounds, and they're moving a lot of dirt right now. But if you do decide to go out, please make sure you make contact with our wastewater group out there so they can show you around for safety purposes and ensure you're not interfering with the contract. But that project's moving along fine. We're not having any issues with that at this point. That's all I had.
Thank you, Gardner.
Evening again. A few announcements for you. We haven't met since 4th of July. I wanted to give you a little bit of information about the activity for that weekend. Calls for service was relatively quiet for a 4th of July weekend, with the exception, of course, for firework activity. But as far as normal police activity, it was a little bit slow, particularly being a holiday weekend. We were actually very successful, and I was surprised that we were able to arrest 6 individuals for possession and launching of illegal fireworks. That's actually a very high ratio. For example, the county and the city of Modesto, where I have previous experience, we would deploy up to 20 officers patrol the city of Modesto exclusively for those type of violations, and might come away with 10 or 15 citations for the whole night. So for us, with our limited resources and staff, to end the night with 6 was quite a successful night of doing the best we can and maximizing our resources. And each of those individuals were issued a citation, and the illegal fireworks were confiscated. This just last weekend was the opposite. Was very busy, particularly Sunday for some reason, all day and night. You'll in your weekly report, you'll see in your mailbox, and of course in the newspaper, a little bit of some violent activity, some assaults and stabbings, etc. So it was a rather busy weekend for our officers. Now some announcements, some good news. You'll see as well, it's on the website already, we're launching our first Citizens Police Academy. It's an educational community service to educate people about the police department, what we can and can't do. Why, for example, may we not be able to arrest someone to the satisfaction of a citizen, what the limitations that we're under the law, and and why we, and other things, what we can do. This will begin the first week of September. It's a 6-week program. Be on Wednesday nights from 6 to 9. You're certainly all welcome. It's a first come, first served basis, but I'm sure we could find room for our council members. This is very successful in lots of other communities, and we hope to obviously recruit as well some volunteers for the police department, maybe our Explorer program. It's open to ages 14 and above. So that'll begin on the first Wednesday of September and go for 6 weeks. It's free of charge. Be held at the McConnell Center. Also, we're in the beginning stages of a partnership with the Boy Scouts of America for a community campaign here. We'll be having on September 26th a day camp co-sponsored by us and Boy Scouts. Looks like it'll probably be at Sherman Park, maybe. We're still finalizing that, but we definitely want it to be in one of our parks. It's designed to recruit folks to Boy Scouts of America, obviously, which helps us, gets kids involved, and limits their opportunities to go out and do other things, teaches them a lot of values, etc. There'll be lots of activities. Our Explorer Scouts will be there. Other, hopefully, community groups. They'll have their rock climbing wall, other types of events that are common with Boy Scout camp. And hopefully we'll get some sign-ups there and help with educating our youth in the community. So that's September 26th. And lastly, we're starting to gear up again. It'll be time for our second animal control clinic in September. I don't have that date finalized, but that'll be a Saturday in September as well, and that'll be held at a park as well on a Saturday, and taking into account the improvements that we talked about last time. And that's about it, unless you have any questions for me.
Sorry, Bob. 2 quick questions.
Yes.
Chief, there's that 100,000. Did we receive that? I know that every year we have to go to the table and.
The state cops money?
Yes.
That we won't know that until the state has a budget. So maybe
gotcha.
April of 10 we might know. But we don't know, and it's on the table as always. Every year it's debated.
Yeah.
It hasn't come up frequently this time from the reports we get from Cal Chiefs, our association.
Okay.
They don't seem to be focusing on that. The bigger issue that's happening with the state budget right now that everyone should be aware of is the plan to release prisoners early, up to 45,000 prisoners as a cost-saving measure. In the RAND group, which I think we're all familiar with and is obviously a very reputable research organization, they determined that if that occurs, we'll have up to 5,000 new crimes over the next 3 years. So that's a bigger issue, I think, to public safety. Obviously, it'd be devastating if we lost our $100,000. That's a police officer to us. But in the bigger scheme of things, putting 45,000 convicted felons back on the streets is not going to be good for public safety. The other thing that is even more being discussed than the cops is to charge for crime lab fees that the state provides. And currently there's no charge for that. Our taxes pay. And if they begin to bill us basically as a private contractor would for billable hours and the services they do, jurisdictions are going to have to make economic decisions on what crimes we can follow up on and what crimes we can submit forensics for. So disadvantaged communities that are not affluent or don't have a lot of spare money, which is most of us, I won't be able to submit things to the lab to solve your crime because we don't have the money to pay for it. So that's another huge hit to public safety if that should go through, that we start getting invoiced from the state for these services. As of now, I don't have to consider economics. If we have a crime and it warrants a fingerprint processing or DNA or these types of things, it's sent off, and we don't make decisions based financially. But I'll be forced to do that if we start getting billed because we just don't have the budget to pay for all of those. So your burglary, that would no one was hurt. This gentleman's burglary, property only was stolen, and maybe we received fingerprints. I may not have the money to submit for processing because I need to save the money for those stabbings, shootings, domestic violence, those types of things that unfortunately are a higher priority because there were injuries. So those are really the two ones that are being discussed right now, but cops is always on the table as well.
My last question, raccoons.
We have that on our, I think, our agenda tomorrow morning for tomorrow's staff meeting, and we'll be exploring options, I think, in that and what the city can and can't do. So I think probably next meeting we'll maybe be able to update you, or I'll personally contact you and let you know. But we're going to talk about it tomorrow as a management team.
Excellent, thank you.
Chief, a question on the raccoons. It seems to be a very popular subject right now. My concern is at what level do we have a problem? You know, I mean, and I've heard that from a lot of different people that there's quite a few raccoons out there. And that concerns me, so I'm sure that this would be part of your review to see exactly what is going on out there.
Well, I'm probably going to open the door here, but I mean, we do need to hear from folks. Actually, we've only been contacted by one individual, and I understand you're being contacted by more, but we need to be careful that is that just word of mouth, and is this really a small problem that is just growing by talking to you? Officially contacted, the city's been contacted by one individual that I'm aware of in the last 6 months, and he's contacted us twice. And he wrote a letter to the editor, his first contact, that generated no additional calls to me or the city, which indicated to me that maybe why we didn't really do anything last time, because it seemed to me to be more of an isolated issue. Because if it's in the paper and, wow, I'm having problems with raccoons too, I would have thought it would have generated more calls or emails, and we got none. And I don't think you folks even brought it up the last time. And now he's initiated contact again, and I think the discussion started. But this is the first I've heard of that it's the complaints from more people. I'm hearing that from you for the first time. To our knowledge, it's this one individual.
Question.
Yes.
Could we trap? You know, and I know they have traps out there because I bought them, and they're not that expensive. I think for $100 you can get a pretty good raccoon trap. And to me, it would be good to have a couple traps out there. You may catch a cat, and you may catch a possum or something like that, but at least you might get an indication.
We certainly have traps available. Councilmember, I believe 3 that we give out for no charge. I think we take a $5 deposit on them is all. And they're available, and many people do avail themselves to those traps. They certainly are available for that, and that we'll obviously talk about that tomorrow as well.
Well, one question is the problem being that, let's say, for instance, someone traps a raccoon. What did that person do with that raccoon?
Right.
So
I think one of the options we'll talk about is, and we need to make sure for a variety of reasons, legal reasons and others, why we haven't just jumped right at this, because we need to make sure that, do we want to assume that responsibility on private property? Is that the right thing to do? And you know, our gut says yes, but we have to safeguard the overall,
could be on city property too.
City property, obviously, we have to do something. But that will be part of our discussions tomorrow, I'm sure. And whether, if they do catch them, do we come out and collect the raccoon? Or are they required to dispose of it on their own? These types of things. But
I don't think you can dispose of raccoons. I think that's one of the
think
problems.
they're protected some manner?
I don't think so.
I don't
think they're
I don't think you can.
protected.
I mean, a possum, I believe, I know you can't a possum, but a raccoon, I question.
It's going to require research and discussion. I don't think we're going to resolve this, tonight or tomorrow morning. But
I think the word we're looking for is relocate.
Relocate.
Well,
Put them on a bus to
you better relocate them a long ways
we'll buy
up.
them a
But see-
ticket to Tennessee.
Thank you. Yeah.
But as you can see, those are a lot of the issues we'll discuss. Wild animals, and and how when they come in, and if come into our city and do things. So we got to do.
We have a lot of research to do.
You
It's
know,
not a quick
You
answer.
should talk to the county, because they do have a trapper. Because I've got the person's number, I've got it at work someplace, but.
Well, that's
they-
one of the things we need to decide, is this really a private property issue that you contact a person who does this for a living? There are folks out there.
Well, the county has
Or is
one
that
person.
something that the city should assume responsibility to? And that's, I think, a debate we need to have, and perhaps a policy direction from you. But I don't know that immediately we should start responding to these until we really vet it out completely.
I just don't want to see it get out of hand as far as, when we have more raccoons than we want to have in our city. Maybe one every once in a while is not so bad, but
Right.
20 or 30 of them, not good.
if people approaching you, encourage them to please contact us so we can get an accurate gauge of, is this really a problem, or is this one neighborhood, is it one person who's just talking to a lot of people? I mean, how serious is the issue?
Yeah.
But as of now, officially, only one person has come forward, to at least to us, perhaps more to you. But
Yeah, they talk to us a lot better than they do the police department. I'm just kidding, Chief.
I understand.
But they're usually complaining when they talk to us.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Anything
Chief,
else?
the last thing,
Yes.
just if you would please get together with this
I've introduced
gentleman.
myself. I've never
Please.
met the gentleman.
Yes, and
until
please see
tonight,
what you can
and,
do.
provided my card to him. Absolutely.
Please, please. He's a good man, so please.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chief.
I've got one more yes back there. Are we financially sound? No. God, that's all I needed.
Sorry. It's not our fault.
Okay, okay. No other staff members, then we'll go to the council members. And we'll start with Ted.
I think I've asked all, I do have to, Gardner, I have, which is exactly what we're talking about with that, my cement has come up again. I didn't want to bring it up because I don't think it's the tree, smarty pants. But it has come up, and poor woman, I went out there reading last night, and she tripped on it, and I've tripped on it. So if somebody could please take a look at it. They've already done it once, and it's still coming up again. So there's a tree right there, yeah. That one's actually growing. What? Oh, yeah, you're going to cut the tree down? Don't you dare. Forget it. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. And there's one abatement, too, and I can talk to you about it. It's right at Canyon Creek and Walnut Canyon, I guess it is, or Walnut Creek. It's right on the corner. I mean, this thing's looking at
Corner of Canyon Creek?
Canyon Creek and Walnut Creek, it? Yeah. I mean, it's growing, and there's no sign on it, or it just looks bad. Please. That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Your tree okay?
My tree's doing all right.
Roberta?
Yes, I do have something. The Newman Police Department Explorer Post 101 is a very dynamic organization that introduces teenagers to law enforcement and public service, and they're having trouble generating funds to go to their week-long San Diego training session, and I would like to donate half the funds that I have at my disposal for community projects to that this year. And I would like to invite my colleagues to participate.
How much are we talking?
It's $380. I'm sorry, it's $380 per person.
Okay, how many?
And at least two. I don't know if they're more or not, but
Okay.
they've had a car wash. I don't know. I'm not sure what else they've done, but the parents are going to be paying for it if we don't generate some funds from someplace.
We have two Explorers that are going.
Individuals,
Yeah,
eligible to go this year.
yeah, it's $385 a person for the class.
Tuition.
I would like to donate half the money at my disposal for them.
And just for point of clarification, what Ms. Councilmember Davis is talking about is in the council budget, there's community promotions money she would like to donate. I believe it's $1,500 this year, which works out to about $300 per council member. She would like to donate
Use mine.
$150 towards that.
Use mine.
You'd like to donate?
Please, Mike.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not going to use it.
Would you like the full or?
The full amount of whatever, yeah, please. We have the county to back us up if we ever need anything. Sorry, Jim.
Well, I might as well put in the full amount too. I don't know what I was saving it for. I don't know what else might come up.
We're saving it to help the budget.
You did.
So we're at 600, and I think at 385, that's 770 right there. We're not too far away, so I think they do have a little bit of money. So I think it's going to go a long ways to helping these two youth go down to San Diego and compete. As you know, we have one who's now graduating from the program, but who generally sets records when she goes down there and competes in that.
It's going to make them feel good that the city contributed some money that they didn't have to go out and get it from their parents at car washes too.
And we are working with the Explorers program to identify new funding sources for them on that. We think we have something that may help towards next year's program, not necessarily this year's program of the two. And I think Councilmember Kelly and your generous donation will help with that, but hopefully next year they'll be able to generate more through some programs we've looked at. So, okay.
I don't have anything else.
I have just one other thing, but the other thing, Mayor Pro Tem, I have is, because I won't be here the next meeting. I won't be around. I'll be back on the East Coast. But we have, which Mr. Bartini is talking about, August 6th, we have that kickoff, and it's going to be a good time to really show off Newman again. We have a couple hundred people invited to this thing. It's that health fair. It's going to be really, really neat. We're going to have the weigh-in is going to be right in front of the theater at about 11:15 on the 6th, and then there's going to be a luncheon to follow that. There's going to be a lot of publicity, but I think it's going to be great. We have, I don't know how many vendors that are setting up booths inside to promote their health, a healthier choice and lifestyle thing. So it's really going to be neat. You'll hear more about this as it gets going, but our theater just looks great, and it's going to show us off again. So Newman's a good little place to live.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
Mr. Gandy?
Nothing tonight.
The only thing I'd like to say, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight, and especially Mr. Lopes. You know, I know sometimes it's difficult to come forward, but we'll take the good with the bad, and we want to hear from anyone out there that has concerns, because that's the only way we know that's what's going on and what you're feeling, and gives us an opportunity to correct things when they're not right. And of course, the chief, I'm sure, will take care of you, and he will make sure that he does all he can. But anyway, thank you for coming forward. And with that, I'd like to adjourn to closed session.